It makes sense when we're talking about fighting game characters. There's going to be a lot of versatility in which a lot of different characters fight differently and have their own different set of abilities and movesets. I mean, you got beings that can use fire, ice, wind, thunder. You got mortal fighters that can use crazy magic power to amp them up to where they can fight elder gods. Then you actually got gods. You got the normal gods, and then you got elder gods, which I'm gonna go over in this video. This being known as Cetrion, an elder god. She's basically the developers answering everybody's questions. How strong are these elder gods? Kind of, sort of. Because for the most part, the elder gods are pretty much featless. They was always in the background, but there will be other gods like Raiden that would always seek counsel from the elder gods to know what to do for the next plan if the universe is in crisis or something. In this particular case, you see Cetrion, the one I'm going over in this video, talking to Raiden seeking counsel from one of the elder gods, you know? Just like how everything, there's a hierarchy of power. You got the normal gods right here, but you got the ones that's even higher, which is Cetrion, the one I'm going over in this video. There's other beings in her rank like Shinnok, who's a fallen elder god. And then you got beings that are higher rank than them. There's a Titan. When we're talking about the lore for Cetrion, she's the elder goddess of virtue, guardian of life. When Shinnok threatened to conquer the elder god, Cetrion is one of the one that cast him into the nether realm. So I'll let you know how powerful she is. Off the gate. And Kronika is Cetrion's mother, by the way. Well, speaking of her power, let's get into it. She's completely different from other elder gods like Shinnok, even though they're technically related, I guess. One can say Cetrion's one of the most versatile characters thanks to her being an elder god. She has a lot of different things she can do. One of her many abilities is basically doing some Ant-Man type stuff from Marvel Comics where she can pretty much get bigger and technically her weight gets more massive. Meaning that the more size, the harder her kicks or punches and everything are because she weighs more, right? On top of her already having super strength. But I'll bring this up later. Like, she can obviously fly or float. Like, she's one of the beings that implies she can project fire, along with projecting wind as well with her blast. It's occasions like this, it looks like she can control earth, water, and fire. Matter of fact, there's even implications she can freeze you. Maybe that's why you see her projecting rain. And can stop it, make a mini earth in her hand thanks to manipulating the earthly elements in water. I mean, we see her control rock right here so she can crush you with it. There's implications that she can emit lights, bright light. One can say light manipulation. You can kind of see it in her animations like this, for example. In her animation, it's similar to the story mode when she makes herself glow like bright and glows really bright here. One could say she has telekinesis, or one could say she can just manipulate the earth that good. I mean, I guess it makes sense due to her versatility, her being able to pick you up without even needing to touch you thanks to telekinetic type stuff. Her simply stepping, you can see grass and stuff being made. I mean, she does kind of remind me of Poison Ivy, I ain't gonna lie, from DC Comics. Like, she be doing these plant-like tendril techniques. She's a deity just like everybody in this game. She can hit people's heads off if she wants to with their spine connected to it with her physicals. But that's not one of the things she needs. Plus, in the whole events of Mortal Kombat 11, she was kind of nerfed. Because it was stated here when Raiden was seeking counsel that during this temporal Armageddon, during the events of Mortal Kombat 11, there was a temporal Armageddon. Elder gods were weakened, apparently including her. So apparently all this stuff we see her do in Mortal Kombat 11, she was weakened. So her at her full power, it's kind of scary. I mean, she has super strength, but a good way to understand her might is one could say her blast power. Like, we know she's weakened, but that's a vague term. Like, there's really no way to mathematically determine how weakened she is. For all we know, she could have been 10% weakened or something. I mean, matter of fact, she was weakened apparently. You remember when Liu Kang became a deity, even though she was apparently weakened, she was still able to make him sigh in pain for a second or two, even though she got overpowered. It kind of gives you an idea that she was still pretty powerful still, even though Liu Kang was stronger than he's ever been, infused with an actual literal thunder god and his power of his own power combined. That little small grunt was like a sigh of discomfort, even though she's apparently weakened. That's pretty impressive considering how strong Liu Kang is here. Stuff like that can give you some idea of her blast power still, even though she's apparently weakened. But then she has cutscene stuff in cinematics of her directly affecting the planet or Earth, or the ground beneath at least, by making this one could say fissure in the ground or split in the ground at will, making like a little mini earthquake. As you can see, like a split in the ground that deep. This can give you some idea of her crazy power. And this doesn't seem to be her going all out either. She's like being merciful, trying to give him an ultimatum in this interrogation type of scene. And she can just fix it with ease, might I add. Moments like this pretty much prove with her blast power she can level buildings with ease, low difficulty. And I'm not done. Look at this massive bridge Cetrion is holding up, or one could say created, this bridge had to be as big as a building or bigger. The length of it had to be heavy as heck, holding all these beings walking across of it, all this weight she was holding. If I'm being honest, a bridge this long, one could say she could probably level multiple city blocks based on how massive this junk is she's holding up. Did you really have any doubts that a being in her hierarchy, elder god level being, could have the strength to basically lift up a building if needed be, or toss it aside with her strength if she had to? With her telekinetic power, at least? That's just something that should be a given at this point. Like, this particular character isn't Cetrion, for example, but in the new Mortal Kombat game, there's mages, not beings that are not even considered deities, can summon waves so vast they can actually crush entire cities. This kind of stuff can kind of give you the idea of what kind of power levels we're dealing with in Mortal Kombat. Beings that can produce waves that are bigger than mountains, that can wipe out entire cities or entire capitals, one could say, with just a blast, a singular blast. So what do you think an elder god like Cetrion can do? I mean, we already know she can control the elements of water, ice, fire, and stuff. Who's to say she couldn't summon a big, gigantic piece of waves to do something similar like this, to wipe out an entire city? I definitely think this is in the realm of possibility of her being able to summon a big wave too, because she can control water, earth, and stuff like that. I definitely think this is a possibility. If mages like that can do that, and they're not even deities. A lot of people have these arguments on which one of their gameplay mechanics is actually canon to their lore when it comes to their power output and stuff of that such. Like some fatalities not being canon, like babalities when they turn them into babies. Obviously stuff like that is probably not a part of their power set. But the other stuff they do, it's basically a part of their lore when it comes to how strong they are. So while it is true, this stuff is gameplay. A lot of the stuff they do in gameplay, they actually have those abilities in the lore. Like stuff like this, for example. So when you see her lifting up giant bridges, these kind of moves kind of make sense with these little baby rocks. If she can move entire bridge-sized rocks. Or a building-sized rocks, you know what I mean? Like, for example, other characters in the game's universe, that when they do their moves in gameplay, their fatalities, that's actually stuff they can do in the lore. This is just an example. This is not Cetrion, but I'm just giving you an example of other characters in Mortal Kombat that do their type of fatalities in the game's narrative. Like, Scorpion actually has the strength to rip a head off with a spine connected to it. This has been calculated to take over hundreds of tons of force. You rip off a head with the spine still connected, that takes 100 tons of force, not just ripping a head off by itself. So that gives you an idea that they can do a lot of the stuff they do in these fatalities in the actual narrative. Matter of fact, it was straight up stated.
The first Sub-Zero, Scorpion ripped out his spine, left it in a heap upstairs in Shang Tsung's old throne room.
While it is true, moves like this, like babality, turning the opponent to a baby, isn't something they can necessarily do in the lore or narrative. The fatalities are something they can do. We've actually seen them do it in cutscenes. It was stated in the story mode of the game that the character can rip out a spine. So when you see them do gameplay stuff, like this, for example, with Cetrion, creating blasts that are so much pressure they can rip the part of your face off, this kind of stuff seems pretty accurate to the narrative, even if it's just gameplay right here. Remember earlier how I brought up how she can get bigger? One could say, I mean, I already brought up the fact that she has super strength. One could say one of the things that makes her dangerous is that she can grow in size too. In turn, the bigger somebody is, the more harder they can hit because they weigh more, right? That makes sense. I mean, she's already super strong. One of the best ways to understand how strong Cetrion is one of her fatalities. You can see one of her abilities to be able to grow ridiculously large and used her enhanced weight to put extra force on you because she weighs more. And in this animation, they make it seem like she's bigger than continents or countries and then can blast you that way. Imagine what her punches, since her physical size and stuff is increased this much, imagine what her punches this size would feel like. Her punches this size would literally tremble the earth if she wanted to. You see how you can see the curvature of the planet right here, right? Like, she's at least as big as a country, at least, or one could say even a continent. So her physicals are a lot more amplified like this, but then you got to remember, wouldn't her blast power be also on a whole nother level because of the big beams coming from her mouth? Trembling multiple cities is an understatement. She should be able to stomp on or tear apart multiple countries or even continents if she was to get real big and just stomp on it all. I mean, when you think about the size of the moon compared to the earth, maybe if you don't believe she could blow up the earth or a country or something, she could maybe delete the moon or something, or a big chunk of it with her strikes. Or if you don't believe she can destroy it, maybe she can tremble it with her strikes or stomps. Or since we know she can get big and blast like this, maybe her blast could tremble the earth or a country or a continent or two. Or does she have enough blast power to delete a country from existence or a continent? Without blast power, I think it's solely in the realm of possibility. I definitely think she can wipe out cities with ease if she can get this large in narrative. I want to hear your thoughts on it though. What kind of blast power do you think she can produce? You think she can devastate a big chunk of the earth? You guys remember in Mortal Kombat, right? Remember when Cetrion basically gave her power to Kronika, who had this crown on too? This can kind of give you an idea of what Cetrion can do, because you can kind of see the abilities of what Cetrion can do based on the fact that she got her power, or one could say soul put in her to amp herself up. Like, you can literally see her going inside of Kronika, the Titan, and guess what? Shang Tsung absorbed the power of her, even though she had Cetrion's power. Why am I bringing up Cetrion? The reason why I'm bringing up Cetrion is because whatever Kronika and Cetrion can do, Shang Tsung can now do because of him absorbing her. So basically right here, this kind of proves that she can grow big, because somebody that has Cetrion's powers and abilities can grow super big like this. It kind of shows that Cetrion actually has that ability in narrative to grow huge, because Shang Tsung has abilities of Cetrion, so he can grow big too. So it kind of lets you know that she really has that ability to grow big. And one of the abilities he got from absorbing Cetrion was being big. So Cetrion can get big. Another good way to understand her power is that even though it was during this temporal Armageddon, during this MK11 event, and her powers were weakening, apparently, she was still so strong to where no one character could kind of beat her one-on-one if you wasn't like a deity or something. Like here you can see her handling Sindel with her tendrils I brought up earlier. Multiple beings that have different set of abilities or superpowers, like this guy she blocks those attacks. I mean, they would have their little moments where they would get advantages or stuff over her, but we gotta remember she's weakened during all this, which actually makes this more impressive considering she's still fighting multiple beings like this. Like Sindel screaming in her face and didn't do any visible, noticeable damage until like another deity like Fujin comes in to pretty much jump her even more, along with Shang Tsung jumping her. It took all of this really do some real damage on her, and Fujin's actually a deity too, so, and she was weakened here, so it just lets you know it takes all this to take her on. And she's still not dead after this. She just battle damage and had to retreat. You can also get an idea of how strong the Elder Gods are by the way people in the game talk about her.
Can we take an Elder God?
Cassie beat Shinnok.
Only because the cages are born with crazy magic powers.
Maybe we have our own magic.
Your mind is too frail to wield Kronika's weapon. For your own safety, remove it.
It's crazy because even when they had to get amped up from this crown, they really couldn't beat her legitly and straight up win all the way. Like, this is where she pretty much interrogated them despite them having the crown. So even when they was amped up, and she's technically weakened from this temporal Armageddon or whatever, she's still able to pretty much do all of this and threaten them, like I showed earlier about her making this big old feature in the ground. But I want to hear what you guys think. How powerful do you think Cetrion is? Do you think she can produce blasts or kicks if she grows real big that can produce destructive power that can wipe out a city? Her strikes or stomps or kicks that can kick away an entire country or multiple cities at least? Tremble the earth or cause earth destruction with a stomp or a blast? What do you guys think? I want to hear your opinions on it. Regardless of it all, you got to respect Cetrion. But before I get going, I got to say thanks for the donations, everybody. Helps out a lot. Respect her. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.